Detoxification is a mechanism that all living beings have to clean the inside of each cell of toxins and defective molecules. Detoxification is continuous. Every day, every hour, every minute, every second in all organs of all species, and in humans it happens in exactly the same way. When the mechanisms of detoxification begin to stop working, it is linked as a risk factor for the development of neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, in addition to other diseases such as type 2 diabetes, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer, and all other chronic and degenerative diseases. In other words, aging began. Cells age when detoxification mechanisms stop working. Defective biomolecules accumulate due to wear and tear, such as proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and other minerals wastes like sodium inside each cell. After having attended more than 130,000 patients who have come to Chapingo during the last 20 years, as well as previous scientific research on experimental nutrition in omnivorous models such as the white rat and herbivorous models such as the golden hamster, we can propose as a scientific theory: first, practically all diseases begin with intoxication from the wrong foods, cooked and animal foods, and lack of exercise, in addition to stress. Second, most diseases are characterized and almost always begin with the deposit and infiltration of fats of animal origin and vegetable fats, heated, fried, and baked in some organ, and according to the individual genetics will give the name of the disease. Fatty liver is the most famous organ for being infiltrated by fried and baked animal and vegetable fats, and is part of the symptomatology of several diseases: alcoholism, cirrhosis, hepatitis, metabolic syndrome, etc. The National Institute of Pediatrics has informed us that 24% of Mexican children suffer from fatty lives and metabolic syndrome, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, high glucose, and high blood pressure is frequent. Fatty lungs. Thanks to COVID-19, we now know that the damage caused by this coronavirus in infected people is proportional to the level of animal fats infiltrated in the pulmonary tissue, as well as the persistence of the sequels, and the same happens with fatty brain. That is to say, the development of the disease by COVID-19 depends on the amount of animal fats ingested on a daily basis, since these fats are the fuel that allows the virus to reproduce. The greater the consumption of animal fats, the greater the reproduction of the virus and the greater the damage produced in people. Migraine. Due to food intoxication, it could be called fat brain, deposit and infiltration of animal and vegetable fats, fried and baked, in the brain arteries and inside the neurons, which transforms their functioning. At Chapingo, we have observed 100% medical efficacy in more than 2,000 patients with a strict vegetarian diet, nothing fried, nothing baked, and as a complement, the herbal formulas developed in our university program based on the toad's herb, which dissolves and eliminates the deposits of fried and baked animal and vegetable fats. Alzheimer and Parkinson's, also due to food intoxication. They should be called fat brain and or brain intoxicated by beta amyloid peptides that are not eliminated when not enoughly slept. Women 9 hours, men 8 hours, and children 14 hours. Sleeping less than those hours will gradually affect the memory, and not sleeping enough and also the omnivorous diet will start to develop Parkinson's. Chest angina and cardiac infarctus, also due to food poisoning, should be called fatty coronary arteries. Arterial hypertension should be referred to as fatty circulatory system, although two types of food intoxication are frequent: heated animal and vegetable fats, infiltrated in the wall of the arteries, in the endothelial tissue, and salt in excess with the diet, one of the worst addictions in humans, which for the lack of exercise is not eliminated by sweating. And in emergency, military techniques for sweating should be applied: the sauna bath, standard steam baths, and temazcal baths. Diabetes type 2, due to food intoxication of heated animal and vegetable fats. It can also be called fatty pancreas, complicated by the excess of carbohydrates in the diet and not burning them with exercise. The balance between the sugars consumed and those expended with physical activity is lost, and the fatty pancreas produces less insulin and frequently defective. Sweat 1 to 2 liters each day, the minimum to detoxify the blood and skin. In general, the detoxification of the human being should be carried out through sweating, mainly through physical exercise, avoiding exhaustion at least for 90 minutes every day, since sweating helps the expulsion of toxic substances such as salt, which is one of the risk factors for heart and circulatory diseases such as hypertension. In case of not being able to exercise, steam baths such as sauna or temazcal are recommended. The human species is biologically nomadic, designed to walk or jog an average of 30 kilometers each day. Solid bowel movements should be performed daily, at least 3 of half a kilo each, for which it is required to consume 2.5 liters of water, in addition to 3 plates of 300 grams of at least 10 different fruits, and as much of vegetables, because the fiber contained in vegetables facilitates the transit through the intestines. Constipation reflects intoxication. Liquid evacuations should be at least 1.5 liters every 24 hours, for which 2.5 to 3 liters of water should be ingested daily in order to expel toxins from the bloodstream, for which the kidneys make a cleaning of the total blood every 5 minutes and the waste is frequently deposited in the bladder. One of the central functions of sleeps is to remove and eliminate waste substances, mainly pieces of carbohydrates and proteins, as well as fractions of fatty acids, toxins that slowly accumulate in the brain during each day. And when you do not get enough sleep, not only are neurons not detoxified, but toxins continue to accumulate and progressively memory is lost, and coordination in movements is lost. Initial Parkinson's. The residues of proteins and carbohydrates are known as beta amyloid peptides and are the main toxins related to insomnia. Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, in addition to the accumulation of cholesterol from the diet both inside and outside the neurons, which can be observed as backwalls or fat globules. We propose the revitalizing smoothie Dr. Edita Hernandez. The revitalizing smoothie was the result of a master's thesis in food biochemistry by Dr. Edita Hernandez Peralta, in order to find out the biochemical reasons why she didn't die when she was diagnosed with terminal matrix cancer, with generalized metastases at the age of 19, with a life expectancy of 6 months. Edita Hernandez died without cancer at the age of 86. So she dedicated her life to study the biochemistry of raw, fresh, and organic foods, starting with the career of medicine with a specialty in oncology. Later, she did all the medical specialties, in addition to nutrition and a postgraduate in electron microscopy, to make histopathological studies of tumor tissues, cell by cell. She designed a 2-liter shake as a raw diet for 1 day, for a person of 60 kilos, as a single basic diet or adding fruits, vegetables, and oilseeds, but with emphasis on not consuming any food of animal origin and no cooked food, on the recommendation of the naturism schools of Germany in the 30s. from which Dr. Carlos Casanova Lenti graduated, who besides being an allopathic doctor has a specialty in oncology in the US. Dr. Edita studied the raw vegetarian diet in 40,000 patients and Dr. Casanova in 60,000, both with an efficiency of at least 90%. The 10% that didn't observe the recovery of their health was because they didn't want to do the diet. The smoothie is made with a large beetroot, 3 large carrots, 5 pitted prunes, 3 branches of parsley, 3 branches of watercress, 3 whole branches of celery, 2 tablespoons of almonds, and 2 tablespoons of linseed. The rest of a 2-liter blender glass is filled with orange or grapefruit segments or any other fruit. Very well blended ingredients and without straining, for consumption within 24 hours. 100 grams of revitalizing powdered smoothie provides 487 kilocalories, contains 15.4% of protein, 50% of carbohydrates, total fat 25%, of which 35% of that 25% corresponded to omega-3 linolenic, 26% to omega-6 linolenic, 27% to omega-9 oleic. Mineral content in milligrams per 100 grams, iron 40, calcium 53, magnesium 186, potassium 1370, sodium 300, and phosphorus 471 milligrams. It also contains all vitamins and several antioxidants. Japanese biologist Yoshinori Ozumi was awarded the 2016 Nobel Prize in Medicine for the discovery of a mechanism to degrade and recycle cellular components that are no longer useful to the cell. This is a mechanism that all cells of all species have to continuously detoxify themselves. The cell can destroy a part of its own contents, those that have already fulfilled their function within the cell, inside the cell. The cell forms a membrane around the waste, envelops them, and remains as a vesicle or a vacuole, which moves to the lysosome, carrying out in this organelle the disintegration or, where appropriate, the recycling of molecules that can be used again for the formation of new macromolecules, such as amino acids. Yoshinori Ozumi used yeast as an experimental model in his laboratory by culturing mutated yeast that lacked enzymes that degrade vacuoles with debris. Within hours, the yeast was full of undergraded vacuoles. He identified the genes responsible for the continuous cleansing and detoxification process through which the cell remains functioning and integrated into a tissue and organ of the body of any animal species. In addition to eliminating and recycling worn-out proteins or any other macromolecules, this detoxification mechanism is used by the cell to get rid of viruses and bacteria. Furthermore, this process contributes to the regeneration of cellular components and can quickly provide energy by cleaving a polysaccharide into glucose molecules or other sugars. When the autophagy mechanism starts to stop working, it is linked to neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, helps explain diseases such as type 2 diabetes, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, cancer, and all other chronic and degenerative diseases. With aging, the process of detoxification or regeneration and recycling of waste begin to cease to function, and those cells age as defective proteins and other waste accumulate. Ozumi's discoveries validate the paradigm of continuous cleansing and regeneration within each cell, through the recycling of cellular content and the elimination of waste, which opens the possibility of delaying aging, as well as preventing chronic and degenerative diseases, which are the main causes of death in humans. And the most unfortunate thing is that they occur at younger and younger ages, because it is wrong in the basics of feeding, as it is a herbivorous species that feeds as an omnivore and as a carnivore, which hinders detoxification. The raw vegetarian challenge is the natural food system of the human species, herbivorous based on fruits, vegetables, oilseeds and water, as offered by nature, raw, fresh and organic. This food system is the best strategy to recover health, and the data of more than 70,000 people who have done it from 40 to 120 days and some for more than 4 years allows us to summarize the following results. A process of the inflammation began, which was measured by the reduction of at least 2 size in 40 days, even before losing weight. Second, all people began to recover their physiological weight, reducing from 1 to 3 kilos per week. 3. The raw vegetarian diet increases fertility, normalizes the production of sperm and eggs by eliminating from the diet the hormones that are clandestinely used to produce milk, meat, and eggs on the farm. 4. The joint patients immediately began to notice an improvement to the extent that several people unable to walk have begun to recover this function after 60 days with a raw vegetarian diet, some after 6 months. Some people with multiple sclerosis leave the cane after 7 days of diet. 5. Women and men have noticed changes in the skin. It is being cleansed of blemishes and imperfections, and the skin of women who recently had 1 or 2 childbirths is recovering. 6. With the raw vegetarian diet, a generalized detoxification occurs by increasing solid and liquid evacuations. Now everyone evacuates solids every day, and most of them at least 3 times a day. 7. People who exercise daily have improved their physical condition. They are now less tired and most of them exercise more. 8. Most of them have improved the quality of their sleep because from the changes in their diet, less phlegm is formed in the respiratory tract. 9. From the natural diet, people feel more mental agility and have improved memory. 10. Dozens of people with diabetes after 60 days without eating anything cooked and nothing of animal origin no longer require insulin because their pancreas regenerates completely in 1 year. That is, all humans, we all have a new pancreas every year, and in 2 months there is already enough new pancreatic tissue to produce the insulin required by a person who eats a raw diet. With these investigations, it is being demonstrated already as a scientific theory that the next step can be taken to go from the control of the diseases to their cure through the regeneration of the organs, which occurs on average every year for the glands such as the pancreas, liver, thyroid, etc., which we have begun to observe and measure. The only indispensable requirement is through a natural diet, according to the laws of nature. Salt, one of the most common toxins. The World Health Organization recommends consuming a maximum of 1.5 grams of salt per day. However, the average Mexican consumes 8 to 10 grams of salt per day, which is addictive like any other drug, and that is why it is so difficult to consume only the salt naturally contained in most foods. Per 100 grams of food, cow's milk contains 48 milligrams of sodium, melon 17 milligrams, tomato 9 milligrams, egg 144 milligrams, boxed bread 530 milligrams, boxed cereal 1000 milligrams, ham 2300 milligrams, rice 304 milligrams, soy sauce 6000 milligrams. Mexico occupies several world first places: consumption of soft drinks, pastries, junk food, eggs, etc., and therefore first place worldwide in obesity in adults and children. Reason why a social re-education becomes urgent, because Mexican society could be catalogued as a very intoxicated society, due to an almost totally wrong diet, because being nomadic, it hardly does any exercise and also has a very stressed lifestyle. Jonas Friesen of the Karolinska Institute in Sweden demonstrated a constant renewal of 90% of our body. The skin is renewed every 15 days, blood every 120 days, mucous membranes every 4 days, liver and pancreas are renewed every 365 days, bones every 10 years, and the total musculature every 15 years. The renewal and regeneration of each tissue and organ depends on compliance with the laws of nature that govern the life of the human species. First law: the human being is an herbivorous species. It is totally false that humans are an omnivorous species. If that were so, we would live healthy lives eating dairy, eggs, and all types of meat. For that reason, humans are the only species that gets sick more than 90% of its population. Second law: humans are a nomadic species, designed for walking or jogging an average of 30 kilometers per day. Third law: the human species is designed by nature as a eater of raw, living, fresh, and organic diet. Eat food as nature provides it. Fourth law: homeostasis. All living organisms have internal self-healing mechanisms when the natural conditions are provided for it. The simple fact of returning to a diet according to the biological design, the homeostatic mechanisms will begin to take control again, recovering health. This biological characteristic constitutes the philosophical basis of scientific naturism, known as naturopathy. It is also known as lifestyle medicine or natural medicine. In the University Program of Medicinal Plants of Chapingo, under the direction of Master Eric Estrada, after having followed up more than 60,000 sick people who decided to change their lifestyle, mainly through a change of diet, an improvement of at least 90% in their health condition was observed. A process of deflation began, which was measured from the reduction of at least 2 sizes in 40 days, even before losing weight, and they began to recover their physiological weight, reducing from 1 to 3 kilos per week. For more information, you can check the book The Herbivore Model, the new feeding model of Homo sapiens, Eric Estrada Lugo, 470 pages, 2nd edition, 2019. It can be ordered to WhatsApp 595 113 4620. 595 113 4620.